For joining us here at Miami Community News, the hub for local news and information. Happy New Year, our first show of the new year, Michael Miller, and a lot going on. How are you? How was your New Year?
Yeah, Andy, Korge, it was great. Thank you very much. The family's all healthy, and hopefully we'll stay that way. As soon as we were able to get our injections of the vaccine, we'll be happier.
Well, we talked to Dr. Jack Michelle last week about that. A lot of people want it, not a lot of vaccines there to get. I noticed that they stopped taking appointments in Broward County for vaccines yesterday. So that's a tough nut to crack. But talking about tough nuts to crack, Georgia's
take it away.
Take a segue. Georgia's Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, extorted yesterday by the President of the United States to overturn the results of the Georgia presidential election days before U.S. Congress is to affirm the Electoral College's result, putting President-elect Joe Biden in the White House. President Trump's apparent screen test for a role as a mafia don in Martin Scorsese's next flick.
You know, whether you voted for him or not, it is just unbelievable that somebody in that position would try to cajole. I think that's the way it first came. Cajole, that's like what a high school student might do to a girlfriend. That was cajoling. That was like beating up at least two times. There was not just an idle threat, but it was pretty threatening, if you ask me.
It was like an all-time high and lows, even for Donald Trump. And I was aghast to see it. It was recorded by, I believe, the Washington Post, or maybe the Wall Street Journal. I'm not sure, but it was recorded in Georgia and in Washington, D.C. You don't need consent from both parties. I guess the Secretary of State of Georgia, who, by the way, is a Republican, allowed the recording to take place.
And if you listen, Trump did almost all the all the talking.
Yes.
Right. And they were just listening and just letting him go on and on and on. When appropriate, he said, you know, Mr. President, that information you have is wrong. That is not correct. That did not happen.
Well, if you want to hear what a screen test for a Martin Scorsese film sounds like, we're going to let you hear it right here on the Andy Korge Show at Miami Community News. Let's listen to the first cut.
So, look, all I want to do is this. I just want to find 11,780 votes, which is one more than we have, because we won the state, and flipping the state is a great testament to our country, because, you know, there's just, it's a testament that they can admit to a mistake, or whatever you want to call it, if it was a mistake. I don't know. A lot of people think it wasn't a mistake.
There you go. That is the gift that keeps giving, Donald Trump.
So I've heard some of the news guys last night or commentators say, well, Trump could say that he really didn't know, all right? And that perhaps it was that way. But when they said specifically, when Trump said specifically we want 11,780 votes, which is one more than we really need, that goes to show that had real intent to try to change that. The next couple days, next 2 weeks should be phenomenal, and the history buffs across the world are looking at this.
Yeah, I mean, find the key word there was find 11,000 plus votes. Find, like, how do you find votes? People vote, you count them. They've recounted them, I don't know.
They had the original, and then they had two more times.
Exactly. They've recounted that 3 times. They've counted those votes in Georgia.
So here's the part that I'm really miffed at. So if certain people think that it was fake, all right, well, there were a lot of people that won, all right? A lot of Republicans that won, all right?
Yeah, and House seats, et cetera. Yes.
Right. And then are those votes good? It's sort of like a lie detector test. I like this answer. That the lie detector said I was telling the truth. Over here, it was like, don't get to pick and choose.
Yeah, right? But do you think that Donald Trump is thinking about all those other people? I mean, obviously not. He's not thinking about that guy that ran for state senate or state house in Georgia. He doesn't care about any of that. He cares about one thing, and that's what we've seen for 4 years in the White House. He cares about Donald Trump.
Yeah. And it seems to me that the outgoing president should still whoever that happens to be. So work with the new person coming in, and especially at this time when we have so much trauma that is going on. Thousands of people a day are dying, all right? I think it's 3,000. And down here in Dade County.
3,000 plus, yes.
3,000 plus throughout the country.
Yeah.
That is a whole bunch of people. And how about, listen, we're doing our best. We're going to try harder. I've got 10 days left for 15 or whatever it is. The new administration is going to take over. None of that conciliatory effort to make us feel whole again. And the thing that binds us now, unfortunately, is COVID, right? That's the only, when you go, all right, the politics of it seem to be sort of set aside, at least in my view. So, got to help us with how we're going to handle the next couple of months with thousands and thousands and tens of thousands of people dying. So,
well, let's hear a little more of the gift that keeps on giving.
And the people of Georgia are angry. The people of the country are angry. And there's nothing wrong with saying that, that you've recalculated, because the 2,236 and absentee ballots, I mean, they're all exact numbers that were done by accounting firms, law firms, etc. And even if you cut them in half, and cut them in half again, it's more votes than we need.
Well, Mr. President, the challenge that you have is the data you have is wrong.
The data he has is wrong.
Yes. By the way, that sounded like me when I was in college and I was failing a class and I took the test and I went to the teacher, somewhere in there, please find the answer so I can pass and get out of here. I do want to say hello to George Gonzalez. Happy New Year to you. And also to Andy, there's Steve Cody says it's worse than Nixon's Watergate tape. I believe that.
Oh, it's not even close.
Right.
It's not even, Steve Cody is absolutely right. It's not even close.
Okay, so I see David Winker's made a comment. Would you go ahead and read what David Winker? You're a good friend.
Let me put it up.
Okay, here we go. Read
Classing up the Andy Korge show. Well, but listen, David, it doesn't take much to class me up, okay? So that is quite a low bar that one would have to cross. So I'm not giving Michael Miller too much credit for that one.
Okay,
but
let's talk about too much. I see your beard is really growing in there.
No,
folks, it is awfully gray. All right.
Yes,
Okay.
it's for lack of everything. Although that's not correct. We have the blonde barber coming on with Romberg Korge
Is that
tonight
right?
at 6, and she did a pretty good job, I thought, trimming this thing up.
Years ago,
Just a few days ago.
I had a beard for a short period of time, but I could barely grow it. But the most relaxation was going to this old Cuban barber shop with the red chairs. The people would sit there and have conversations and play. I'd be in the chair and they'd do all this. Man, it was such great attention. It was wonderful. It lasted like 3 days, right? I'd go out of there. I'm going.
You love that.
So you're going to get that tonight or tomorrow night?
No, she's just coming in to be part of the show, but no,
But she'll be in tonight.
She'll be in tonight from 6 to 7
on the Andy Korge show.
On Romberg and Korge. Romberg and
Korge.
Korge, yes, tonight from 6 to 8. But you know what I loved about this whole conversation and the taping? What the real media in today is, because Donald Trump believes it's something other than what the media is. So Tommy, can we hear the next cut? He's texting his girlfriend over there.
Mr. President, the problem you have with social media, people can say anything.
No, this isn't social media. This is Trump media.
Trump
It's
media.
not social media. It's really not. It's not social media. I don't care about social, but I couldn't care less. Social media is big tech. Big tech is on your side, I don't even know why you have a side, because you should want to have an accurate election. And you're a Republican.
We believe that we do have an accurate election.
Oops.
That takes a lot of guts to be able to say we are accurate, Mr. President. This is good. We submitted our information somewhere in there, and that the courts have already decided. And that count, there were 3 counts.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. You're absolutely right, Michael. You have Brad Raffensperger, the Secretary of State of Georgia, on a call with the President of the United States about the election that threw him out of office. And that's got to be pretty intimidating for a person. But, you got to really stand, whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, it doesn't matter. you've got to really respect that Secretary of State Raffensperger in Georgia, because that's a tough position to be in, especially as a Republican. I mean, they've done everything in their power to make sure that this election was fair, that was on the up and up. They've counted those votes 3 times, not once, not twice, 3 times. And the results they've been the same every time.
My hat's off to him and his team that said, we're going to listen to him, and we're going to position ourselves on the things that we know that are correct. My hat's off to him, and he may wind up losing next time around. But you got to know that he did the right thing.
He did the right thing, and I think the people of Georgia realize that. I mean, you know, the people that voted for Trump aren't happy, but you know, it's an election. There's a winner and there's a loser, and in 2 days, Congress is going to have to affirm the Electoral College's vote, and it's a tough position for people. Well, look in our community, newly elected Congressman Carlos Jimenez, newly elected Congressperson Maria Elvira Salazar, who might not even be there for the vote, as I understand it. So, and we should take note of that if she doesn't show up for that vote, because she is skirting her responsibility. But if you want to hear what delusional really sounds like, we're going to listen to this last tape, because here's the poster child for that.
Here, I got a better graphic for this Trump thing, so hold tight.
Okay, we're going to hold tight. I got a graphic. What was the graphic? Just play the audio.
Better than the other one.
Okay.
Trust me.
We're looking, folks.
Okay, here we go.
Coming up.
That's it. All right.
That's the one.
Okay, audio.
Coming.
All right, here we go.
There's no way I lost Georgia. There's no way. We won by hundreds of thousands of votes. I'm just going by small numbers. When you add them up, they're many times the 11,000. But I won that state by hundreds of thousands of votes.
I won by hundreds. That's what delusional sounds like.
There's no way I lost Georgia. There's
No way.
So I understand 54 cases have been rejected by the court system because there hasn't been evidence of any significance that's brought forth. I want to clear that the newspaper endorsed a Republican and a Democrat for Congress. We actively supported Carlos Jimenez, former city county manager, over Debbie Merkel-Powell in West Kendall, and we supported Donna Shalala, a Democrat on the other side, and she was handily beat by Salazar.
But so 2 days they're going to have to figure this out. They're going to have to stand up, these people in Congress, and they're going to have to vote for the to affirm the Electoral College, and I suspect that they're going to vote the right way. I suspect Carlos Jimenez is going to vote the right way with the Electoral College. But this is so exceptionally disturbing that all 10 living former defense secretaries released a letter yesterday supporting the peaceful transition of power, and that the use of the military in a transfer of power could be detrimental to our democracy.
And there's Republicans and Democratic.
You know who was the instigator of this letter?
Who?
Guess. Take a wild guess.
Cheney.
Dick Cheney.
I hated him at the beginning.
Dick Cheney. Now put that in perspective, people. Dick Cheney, the guy who's tried to skirt all sorts of things as vice president, got together with 10 other former defense secretaries. I'll name them for you. Donald Rumsfeld, you remember him?
Yep.
William Perry, Leon Panetta, James Mad Dog Mattis, Chuck Nagel, Robert Gates, very respected Robert Gates, Mark Esper, William Cohen, Ashton Carter, and of course, Dick Cheney, all signed this letter and released it to the media saying that this could be detrimental to our democracy if the military gets involved in this transfer of power, which is nothing anyone in America wants to see.
But why did that subject come up?
Because of this tape. Because they see, they're seeing right now that he is trying to not leave that office. We're sitting here on the 4th of January. In 2 days, Congress is going to be asked to affirm it. And then on the 20th, a new president is going to be seated.
He did say that a long time ago, that he wasn't going to leave. He was going to try for a third term. So it's the second. Remember that it was Trump in 2016 that said I could shoot somebody in Fifth Avenue and probably nothing would happen. Well, that is what it's occurred. That it is 80 million, the 70 million people that support him. I hope they take a look at the behavior, not the policies. All right, forget all that other nonsense. Right now, what is going on there?
Yeah, but Michael, let's be honest. I mean, his supporters have not looked at his behavior, from the beginning, and the behavior has been abhorrible. I mean, it's been horrific since the very beginning. And this is, as I said, the all-time high and lows now is now what's occurring and could be, as I said, detrimental to our democracy.
Well, we know he's not going anywhere. He said, you heard himself say the Trump media, he has 80 million people on Twitter, right, that follow him and they do all that stuff. So he's going to be an active player. And I suspect some of those people that are standing up against him are thinking when he goes out of office, what he's going to do to them come 2 years from now.
Yeah, it's who knows. And I love the comment about Trump media. I think that's a sort of a clue as to what's going to happen after January 20th. I suspect that there's going to be some sort of a digital play for Donald Trump as a media empire to begin. And maybe that's a way to keep him relevant for 4 years for a run for president again in 2024. Or maybe that's a way to keep the Trump name relevant for a play for maybe his son, Donald Jr., his daughter, who we know he adores in a sort of sick, perverse way. The whole thing just reeks of just of a horrific lack of respect for our democracy.
And I agree that we have certain norms that he's certainly shattered. If you really want to get to the essence of it, Carl Bernstein had something to say last night. You might want to go and find what he had to say about this president at this time. One of the things that I find really amazing is that sometimes the conservative media will say, the media is not covering this, but the reality is that, yes, they are. All right. And they cover it from their particular angle, just like the left-leaning or left media covers it. So when I hear, oh, the media is not covering it, if you're speaking about it and you have a microphone and an audience, all right, of millions and millions of people, all right, that if they choose to cover it differently. But the reality is that we are really in an uncomfortable place. We are putting our government and our democracy at risk here. I just hope that come January 20th that the moving trucks show up appropriately, all right? And then it's like 6 or 7 hours or 8 hours, everybody else goes in. And quite frankly, I'm glad that the new president is going to be changing the doorknobs, which it's like, well, that's what you do. I guess you want your own stuff that's there.
I guess we have a comment from Mark Lago right here in South Miami who says it's insane what's going on and that the GOP is enabling it. And that's a great point. I mean, you have certain U.S. senators, U.S. Congress people who are enabling this, who are for inexplicable reasons. I guess what I don't understand, and I'm curious of your opinion, you got a guy like Mitch McConnell or Lindsey Graham that are clearly enabling this. What's the gain for them? They're at the end of their political careers. They just were both reelected for 6 years. I mean, Mitch McConnell is not running again, I would assume, in 6 years for U.S. Senate. And if he is, Donald Trump will either be dead or be a distant memory, I suspect.
But all his videos and tweets will still be out there.
Maybe it's not. Maybe I'm just thinking ahead in a very false way. But I don't understand the enabling of him by some of these people in the U.S. Senate and House of Representatives.
Well, when the Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky thing came up, I was a big supporter of Clinton. And then it got closer, and I said, people would say, he had whatever he did with Monica. I said, well, where else? And he was in the White House. I go, where else was he going to go? Right? It probably took this insurmountable amount of evidence for me to say, okay, he did something with her. I wasn't quite sure what it was, but yes, there was something that happened. So when you support somebody, we tend to overlook a lot of stuff about them. But there's no question that this guy, even if you voted for him, you cannot ignore the things that he is doing. All right. And I'm not talking about whatever good things you do. We're talking about this is it. I was visiting my my wife's OBGYN doctor from years ago, and he says, Michael, he says, I delivered 1,000 babies last year. He says, and one slipped out of my hands, and the nurse caught it. And so the doctor said, hey, listen, 999 times I got it right, but I missed this one. The lady says, I don't care about the other ones. I care about this one. Yeah. Right. And I think that's the case with this president right now. The turmoil that he is causing this country, all right, when he should be in the place of trying to provide us comfort and say, help is on the way.
Well, like you said, especially now in the midst of this horrific spike in COVID, we're seeing the second wave. The next 2 weeks are going to be horrific. We're going to see probably close to 4,000 people a day dying in America over the next couple weeks with the spike from the holidays, travel. We had in Miami International Airport over a 7-day period between Christmas and New Year's, we had over 100,000 people traveling through our airport. For 100,000. That's just at Miami International Airport. I believe the number was 10 million people traveling during the holidays in America. That is going to bring a spike that we've never seen in this COVID situation.
And some of the reports have said, listen, folks, we're about to tell you that we're not going to have this on national news, any more room in the hospitals until people die, and then we'll be able to admit you. Already some hospitals, the ambulance is waiting for hours to pick up people to take them in. We have great service down here and great healthcare system. I hope we don't get overwrought with it. I personally know recently 5 or 6 people that have had COVID. They've all recovered so far, right? But there's a persisting loss of energy, a lot of fatigue, and a lot of coughing, which is very fatigue oriented. By the way, there's class here.
Yes.
All right. And we have our best.
We take our precautions here at Miami Community News. I want to say hi to a few people before we move into a little bit of a COVID conversation here. But Gary Allen, thanks for watching. I'm going to send you a wave. Colleen Martello. I haven't talked to Colleen in many, many years. Colleen, thanks for watching. And my good friend, private investigator extraordinaire, Michael Keene, is watching, and he is no fan of Donald Trump. I can tell you that. So he's probably enjoying this conversation. But, on the COVID front, so here we are, we have a president that is now, causing all sorts of strife. And we're in the middle of a COVID situation, Michael Miller. And I'm not sure you saw, but yesterday it was reported that Larry King, legendary Larry King, 87 years old in Los Angeles, has been suffering from COVID, got it about 10 days ago, and is in Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in Los Angeles. We hear of the horrific, spike in the California area. We're seeing the same here, but let's talk Florida. And we wish, obviously, well to Larry King. I worked and was once one of the owner-operators of a radio station here in Miami, WKAT, that Larry King started at. Of course, he's a little older than me. We didn't work there at the same time. A little bit older than me. He
has quite a history here in Miami.
He does. WIOD, where I worked as well. He was recorded in the studio for asking to borrow $50, which I believe he left town and never paid back that person the $50 that he loaned to go to the racetrack on that given day. But that was a legendary sort of soundbite. Loan me $50. But we wish Larry King, obviously, the best. Here in Florida, you take away that one day about last week where we had a positivity rate of almost 25%. We're sitting over the last 2 weeks in Florida at 11%, just under 11% positivity rate in the state of Florida.
So that's 11% of the people that got tested. I'm sure there's lots of people
that didn't. Right.
George Gonzalez wanted to know if we would consider travel in a plane now. If you had to say yes or no, what about it?
No, actually, that's a great question, George. My significant other, Rebecca, has been, sort of been cooped up for a long time, and she works out of the house, and she's, for lack of a better term, going stir crazy. So for her birthday, which was Christmas Day, I got for her a weekend in St. Augustine, and we really have been dying to travel. We usually go to California to visit my sister every year. And I have real good friends in San Diego that we go visit every year. And we haven't been able to do that. And she's gone stir crazy. Instead of getting on a plane, and I don't besmirch anyone that gets on a plane. It's their right to do that. And certainly, I think if you take good precautions, maybe you'll be relatively safe on a plane. But that's not something I'm willing to test right now.
Yeah. So last night I was watching some show, and I imagine being on a plane, sitting next to somebody, leaning over and having my shoulder fall on somebody else who was there. I woke up. No. All right, I would not do that. All right, but the addressing this issue of social isolation causes people, otherwise normal thinking people, to want to get reconnected and willing to take risks. I peered in the window over to a restaurant the other day. It was packed with people. It was packed, and it was way too much for me. And there's a place I go for breakfast. I usually there at 7:00. There must be 70 seats inside, maybe 100 seats inside. There was only one other person at the far end. I'm sitting at the other end. 7:15, some guy comes and sits right now.
Well, it's amazing you say that. This weekend, my business, we're in the vacation rental business, and we have units that we've been picking up in the Florida Keys. So yesterday we went down there, Rebecca and I, and one of our employees to Roberto. Hi, Roberto. We went down there to inspect some units, and we were there all day. On Saturday. We were there most of the day, and it was late at night. We were hungry. We went to Hog Heaven in Isla Mirada. Great place. Sat outside by the water, and I'm sitting there. We're sitting there on a table, and I really wasn't paying much attention. And I realized I feel someone almost touching up to me behind me. I turn around, and this group of people, unmasked, walked in apparently unmasked, and they left before us, walked out unmasked, just sat right behind me.
Yeah, we have unfortunately gotten to a place, well, if you go in a restaurant, the COVID virus doesn't go below 4 feet, all right? Or you wear your mask when you walk in and then you sit down. That is what we've learned to do out of respect for that business. But if you're going to be walking around there or sitting close to people, and eating for a half an hour and spitting on each other, unfortunately, all right, I think it's very
I may never eat again after having this conversation with you, by the way. But I try to limit it to, eating outdoor seating. I try not to eat indoors at restaurants. Certainly have curbed the amount of times I go to a restaurant. I would eat at restaurants almost every day, practically, prior to this situation, and now I would
never have known that. All right. Yeah. So let's talk about something if we could. First of all,
okay.
All right. I want to give a shout out to my old hair transplant doctor. This is January 4th, all right, 2020. Years ago, I started getting hair transplant. First time out. Here I am, folks. Dr. Jeffrey Epstein on Sunset Drive.
You got hair transplant?
I do, right here, folks. All
no,
right.
You don't.
I do. I'm telling you, all this.
What's his name? Can I get his phone number here?
Yeah, Jeffrey Epstein, Dr. Jeffrey Epstein.
Man, those look awesome.
Yeah,
Michael, really?
Yeah. So it was great, and they took really good care of me.
But do you understand when you get hair transplants, you're not supposed to say you got a hair transplant?
I know, but
now you've told the world.
Okay, but at this point, it doesn't matter. I'm over 60, so it doesn't matter too much. But I want to.
Why is that the case? Once you turn, like I turned 60 this year, Rebecca will say, you know what, you didn't shower today, or you didn't do this today, or.
And what did you say to her?
Why don't you brush your hair? And I'm like, I don't really care that much anymore.
So I just want to know if there are any folks that are out there that imagine sitting out on your front doorstep, all right, and with this old T-shirt on with marks all over it, all right, with your hair muffled, all right, wearing the same long pajamas for a couple days, and say, everybody stay away from me, all right, in the yard overgrown. Is that what's going to happen on your golf course, your backyard?
Pretty much. I'm probably going to be that old, sort of cranky old man that you don't want your kids' football to end up in my front yard. Yes.
So we have a fence around our property, and so we have a lot of chickens that run around the property. We don't like them near the front. So I have a
You live in Hialeah, chickens in your property?
So I have a BB gun. All right, I chase them around. All right, I don't shoot, but I shoot near them and make them go in the back because they're our pets. Because otherwise, I got to get up and chase them. You can't. If you want to have fun, get 3 or 4 guys chasing 2 chickens. It's a lot of fun.
Well, I learned I think it was Rocky 3, that's a great way for foot training. Chase the chickens, right?
It is. And so I challenged my son-in-law, Levi Meyer, to a chicken race catching contest. No nets allowed.
I think that would be awesome. One more thing I want to talk about for about 5 minutes before we have to cut out this morning. And I know you're not a huge Miami Dolphin fan, Michael Miller, but wow. Did they get their ass kicked
what
yesterday by the Buffalo Bills? And it really shows that we were living, Tommy, in a false sense of reality. When they played a team like Kansas City or Buffalo twice this year, it just seemed like the Dolphins had no chance of winning those games.
I'm going back to my same thinking of that we should have gotten Justin Herbert, period.
I know you've been saying that since
It's
the
sad.
beginning.
It's sad. It's sad.
But there's a lot of questions about Tua. Is he really the quarterback of the future? But I say this to Dolphin fans, and we're going to be covering this a lot today on Romberg at Korge from 6 to 8 p.m. right here at Miami Community News. But I say this, we should be happy. They finished with 10-win season. No one in their wild dreams. Las Vegas had the over and under on the season at 6 games, and here we are winning 10. Stop complaining.
I look at it, I go, this is great. I was watching the end of the game, and I'm thinking, when did the Dolphins at some point, when they were beat by so much, you just finished playing the game. You're not out there, going to hurt yourself because you know that you've lost. But I look at it, this is tremendous that they won 10 games, all right? And my hat's off to them, considering everything that is going on, all right? And so I'm proud of them, and next year will be here before we know it.
Yeah, so, I think that next year exactly will be here before we know it. They're going into an NFL draft this year with 2 first rounds, won the 3rd pick in the draft. Higher than the pick they had last year when they supposedly had the worst team of all time. So 3rd pick in the draft, and I believe 18th pick in the first round. So there's going to be a lot of fresh talent coming into the Miami Dolphins. But I think what the game showed yesterday was it wasn't just about quarterback. They are in need of filling in that roster at a lot of other positions as well.
So here's the first show of 2020. My question to you, Andy Korge, is what did you learn in this last year about yourself?
I'll tell you the biggest thing I learned, and that's an easy question to answer, is that there's a lot of things in life that maybe we put priority for. Maybe it's money or social status. And really all of that stuff is secondary to one important thing, and that is the health of you and your loved ones. And really we should put so much value on our personal health, on our loved ones' health, because at the end of the day, without that, you can have all the money in the world, but if you don't have your health and the health of the people that are around you close that you love, what do you really have?
Yeah. And as we get towards, I know we're still in the middle of it, but we can see the light coming out. And I think at some point when we say, okay, we're safe, all right, that the grief comes into play, which is, oh my God, look at what we just went through in a year plus, all right? Several friends of mine recently came down with COVID. And as I'm texting them, it's funny, we don't talk much anymore, all right? But as I'm texting them, I started crying. And I didn't realize that I was so close to these people and that I was really concerned about them. And oh my God, they could die from this, all right? So I learned that I'm closer to people than I thought, all right? And then it's okay to express yourself.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'll say what I've been saying on this program for the last several weeks. Well, we started this program. And that is, please act responsibly. Please do the right thing. Wear your mask, keep social distance, sanitize your hands. Don't go to your eyes and mouth. I learned that from Dr. Jack Michelle here at Larkin Hospital. Keep your hands to yourself and try to do the right thing. It's not just about you. It's about the people around you and not being able to spread this horrible virus. I've been going right here to Tropical Park literally weekly and without symptoms to see if I have the virus or not. Because one of the things that I worry about is not just myself, but giving it to other people. Whether it's my wife, whether it's her mother, who's will be 84 years old in a couple months, I worry about that
Yes.
because that's our responsibility as human beings.
By the way, when I get home, I leave my shoes at the door. I wash my, clean my phone, go right into the shower. Because what I'm concerned about is giving it to someone.
Now, does Susan get in the shower with you?
Well, let me tell you about COVID-19. But thanks for asking. I'm going to bring that up to her. Susan, listen up. Take the advice of Dr. Korge.
Yeah, someone needs to scrub your back for you. My arms aren't quite that long, okay?
I mean, we can't reach back there.
I can't quite reach back there. So, well, listen, thanks for joining us today on the Andy Korge. You know, tonight at 6 p.m., you're going to want to tune into Romberg and Korge. We have this signee from I don't even remember his name. Do you, Tommy? The signee center, University of Miami from Columbus High. He just signed with the University of Miami. He's coming in as a freshman this year. And he is going to be here on Romberg and Korge to meet his mentor, to meet the guy that's going to make him the next All-American center at the University of Miami, Brett Romberg. We also have
tonight.
That is tonight. He'll be on from 7 to 8. And then from 6 to 7, we have our guest, the lovely and sexiest barber in South Florida, the blonde barber, Aisha Lisette. She is just a riot. She'll be here talking to us about sports and about life and about all sorts of things.
Ryan Rodriguez, that's his name. Ryan,
thank you, Tommy.
Thanks, Tommy. Ryan will be with us. So tune in tonight from 6 to 8, Romberg and Korge, right here at Miami Community News and on OnSideRadio.com. And Michael Miller, thanks for joining me this morning. My pleasure,
and Happy New Year and lots of health and happiness to you.
To you too watching out there, Happy New Year. Start the year off right, take precautions, and we'll see you again tomorrow right here on the Andy Korge Show at Miami Community News. Have a blessed day.